It's the end of an era at the world's largest e-commerce firm. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is giving up the post of CEO to devote his attention to other parts of an ever-growing portfolio. Paolo Montesilio has more on Amazon's future and what's next for the world's richest man.
Jeff Bezos is going out on top. Amazon, the company he founded in 1994, is the undisputed leader of the global e-commerce industry. And it's expected to keep growing after Bezos steps down as CEO.
I think when you consider the structural growth opportunity that's been created by the pandemic and that huge increase in online shopping, I think that really, for now, the investment case hasn't really changed, and the story should be pretty similar from here.
Amazon's worth around $1.8 trillion. Its value is expected to hit $2 trillion this year, making it the third tech firm to reach that milestone after Apple and Microsoft. It's reported revenues north of $100 billion for 2 consecutive quarters. And for the year to March, during the height of the pandemic, the e-commerce giant booked profits of nearly $27 billion. That's more money than it made between 2017 and 2019.
The most important thing.
But alongside that success, part of Bezos' legacy is mired in controversy. US government data shows he and other billionaires have avoided paying taxes for years. And despite its financial strength, Amazon has come under fire for alleged labor abuses.
If you late a minute, 15 minutes, they automatically gonna take an hour away from you. Why? I went late an hour, so why take an hour? So it's just a lot of stuff need to be changed.
A group of workers tried to form a union in Alabama this year, but the effort fizzled out after opposition from management.
What I say to Mr. Bezos, why, when you have so much money, more money that can be spent in 1,000,000 lifetimes, why are you spending millions trying to defeat an effort on the part of workers here who want nothing more than decent wages, decent benefits, decent working conditions?
Those labor issues will be inherited by Andy Jassy, who takes over from Bezos as CEO. Jassy was head of Amazon's cloud computing business. The division has roots in South Africa and now accounts for about half of the firm's earnings.
I really don't see any negatives here whatsoever. This is part of a CEO's job, is to train successors and develop talent underneath them, and this is evidence of that.
With Jassy managing day-to-day operations, Bezos plans to focus on other ventures. His priority at the moment is Blue Origin, the rocket company that's sending him and his brother to the edge of space next month. So while Bezos is stepping down from an old role, it's clear he's aiming for new heights. Paolo Montesilio, TRT World.
We're going to make it.
Let's get more on this with Daniel Ives. He's an equity research analyst specializing in the technology sector and is the managing director of Wedbush Securities in New York. Welcome back to the show, Daniel. Now, on one hand, Bezos is a pioneer of what is emerging to be one of the most robust models of retail, being e-commerce. And on the other hand, he's mired in controversy, as mentioned in Paolo's package. Tell me what, in your view, is going to be his legacy as far as Amazon is concerned?
Yeah, look, I think his legacy in terms of what he created Amazon, that transformed e-commerce. And I think ultimately really led to trillions of dollars of change that we've seen on e-commerce, not just in the US, but globally. And then you look at what they've done in cloud. I mean, Amazon revolutionized cloud. Of course, now Microsoft has followed and become that sort of second player. But the Bezos legacy is really going to be focused on what he's left with Amazon, nearing $2 trillion in market cap. But no doubt, I mean, that legacy is also will have some, sort of crosshairs from some of the controversies that we've seen across the board over the last few years.
Now, as he hands over to Andy Jassy, what do you think are the biggest challenges that he's inheriting?
I think the biggest challenge is Jassy's an AWS leader. So in terms of the Amazon cloud piece, feel really good about that with Jassy running the the show. So I don't think there's going to be any changes there. But if you look at Amazon in terms of regulatory, more and more scrutiny, if you look on the e-commerce side, I think there's going to be more and more of a focus in terms of competition coming from all different angles. And the expectations when someone like Bezos leaves, those are huge shoes to fill that really no one could fill. So I think you'll see the street needing to be convinced that there's not any sort of ball dropped from Bezos to Jazzy.
Right, and as you mentioned, there is now more mounting competition, I should say, the likes of Walmart really squaring up to take on Amazon in that space. And on the other hand, you have Congress talking about new antitrust laws that could potentially break up or at least change the way companies like Amazon do business. Do you see that as an imminent threat for the company?
So I think I see it as a longer term threat, and that goes for Apple, Google, Facebook as well. But I think it's a more pronounced worry on the street. Bezos was Teflon like in terms of dealing with regulators within the Beltway as well as Brussels. But now you're seeing more of a bright spotlight on these business models as the strong have gotten stronger. And when you look at Amazon, the big question is in terms of a breakup, do you eventually see that between the cloud business and the e-commerce? We don't believe that's an imminent threat, but that's something I think investors are very focused on as they go into this period of significant scrutiny, not just from investors, but from regulators.
And now back to Bezos then. Now that he's leaving Amazon, so to speak, what new ventures do you expect to see his name next to?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be focused on space. I mean, right now, if you look, Bezos has sort of been behind Musk and SpaceX. So there's not just a competition on those companies, I think almost a personal competition between Bezos and Musk. And I think the main reason he left Amazon was really to focus on Blue Origin and all those space initiatives to make sure that they're not a rounding error relative to all the opportunities that SpaceX has really started to corner, not just in the US, but really globally.
We've seen so many of these billionaires sort of go on to lead or at least help other companies emerge. Do you think Bezos is going to be, do you expect him to be investing in a lot of startups and sort of new technologies as he goes along?
Yeah, I think that's a typical pattern, as you point out, that we've seen. And of course, Bezos, if he's involved with something, it's going to have that sort of golden touch type feel that could really start to ram from there. And I think for now it's going to be space, but over the coming years, I could see a lot more focus on streaming, on software, on AI, and some of the other areas that he's very focused on.
All right, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us on the show. As always,
Thank you.
appreciate your input.